So, welcome back to the Beast Game Podcast. And today we're going to take a look at Reign of the Supermen, which is a follow up to last year's Death of Superman, where Superman was fighting Doomsday and he was tragically killed. So, it has some small parallels to Batman v Superman, but this is an animated take on it. Directed by Sam Liu, credited by a couple other people for writing, and it stars Jerry O'Connell, Rebecca Romaine, and Rainn Wilson. And the synopsis is, after the death of Superman, several new people present themselves as a possible successor. Again, this is the follow-up to Death of Superman, which took a slightly different take on Superman. More common Superman lore, his father dies. In Death of Superman, his father was still alive, and he and Lois Lane were about to get married, and then things started taking off, and Batman v Superman, he dies. And this is the aftermath of all this. What starts happening is that crime goes up. There's about 4 or 5 different people showing up as Superman. So there's Superboy, there's the Eradicator, there's a cyborg Superman, Lex Luthor, and if you are keeping up with the comic books and stuff, that Superboy is essentially this gene splitting between Superman and Lex Luthor. So Lex Luthor is using Superboy as a way to get back at the public for them hating him for so long. So he's using Superboy to kind of take the mantle of Superman, and while also keeping himself in the public eye. Lois Lane has just been like very depressed about losing Clark Kent and Superman, and then people that work at the Daily Planet are just like, well, Clark Kent died in the Doomsday attack and Superman is gone. Again, Superman now shows up at one of Lex Luthor's events. A guy named John Henry Irons, who becomes Steel in most instances, also works for Lex Luthor, and he's trying to figure out what Lex Luthor is up to. So one of the Supermen is Steel, aka Shaq. The whole thing comes to a point where all these people are attempting to try to be Superman, so they're doing all these public acts. But there's one Superman who is the cyborg Superman. Lois Lane starts asking questions to, because she knows that the other guys aren't necessarily Superman. But she's asking him questions, and he knows some of the important answers that, hey, well, these are private conversations that we had. What was the answer? So it turns out that the cyborg Superman is working for Darkseid, and he took a astronaut who wandered off in space.
Hank Henshaw.
Yeah. Wiped his memories, combined him with the android, turned him into the cyborg Superman to infiltrate Earth so he can take it over. The real Superman comes back. So there's the Eradicator, who every time someone gets close to the Fortress of Solitude, Eradicator just goes off. He goes crazy, starts trying to kill people, but he's just there to protect the real Superman because he's been in stasis trying to rehab himself in order to come back. So the whole thing comes down to a showdown between Hank Henshaw, cyborg Superman, versus regular Superman. And Lex Luthor also helps out, again, slightly different than Lex Luthor has a mother box, which he helps the Justice League to try to defeat Darkseid. Superman and Superboy, they form a relationship, and then also Steel is still around. The Eradicator is gone, and then Cyborg Superman is dead. So that is Reign of the Supermen. But what I thought about it, in general, it was actually a pretty good follow-up to the Death of Superman. I don't remember what I gave the Death of Superman, but I would say I might have given it maybe like a 7.
I think it was universally liked.
Yeah, and I would give this one maybe a 7.5. So if I gave the first one a 6, yeah, it's actually pretty good because
shit.
Mainly because of Steel. Like, 'cause that's what,
are you serious?
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying.
Was good in it?
Yeah, but you have to understand the only other Steel we really had was the Shaq version. And maybe I think Justice League Unlimited, he might have been there, but yeah, it was actually pretty cool. It was straightforward. Maybe the cyborg Superman, because half his face is Superman and half his face is a cyborg. That maybe
he wasn't.
Yeah, because he said that, hey, well, when I was dying, my people meaning Kryptonians have ways of extending life, so he chose that.
I remember him from, of course, the comic. So I knew where the story was going, but seeing there's a lot of deviation, which is fine. And there's nothing wrong with deviation, as long as it makes sense.
Yeah.
And from what you're saying, this makes sense. I may have to check it out, even though I am not a Superman fan at all.
Batman's in it at some point.
All right, I may check it out then.
Yeah, because Darkseid sends the Justice League off kind of into like the
basically to
outer realm,
like a diversion or some shit, right?
Yeah, so you can help the cyborg Superman to take over Earth, but it's actually pretty good. The animation is generally the same as any other DC movie or DC animated movie, but I liked it a lot. So again, that is a 7.5 for Reign of the Supermen, and has been pretty okay for most of the DC animated movies. There have been some bad ones. That Batman one, what the heck was that one?
The Killing Joke?
Yeah, Batman Killing Joke. Oh, that was terrible. That one.
Yeah.
You guys missed the mark on that one.
That shit was horrible.
Yeah, then there was a couple of, I want to say maybe one or two Justice League ones that weren't good, but...
Justice League Dark?
Yeah, and then there was that one with Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad was better than the movie, and that's not really saying much.
Yeah. All right, so 7.5, Beast Game Podcast, Reign of Superman.